within the polarities of something in the 3D, standardly the 3D being, you know, also partaking into a certain type of duality of the shadows being utilized for just evil, right? Overly toxic intentions, quote unquote, energetic evil. And then not that, and then casually not that. So within 3D, there's two polarities. There's not distortion, and then there's distortion, like within the intentions of things. So the point of me saying that is, it's like when I say give me a chance to speak, it's almost as if you have to like strategize that in a very particular context like way. What does that mean? Strategize within the ebbs and flows of life. You got to know when to just listen. And because what the listening does, it helps you process the information and attempt to understand. So if you're not listening, you're not processing, or you're not understanding, right? So if we don't so that's like one of the first steps. Obviously, you could start in a plethora amount of different ways, but one of the ways to start within, even to learn, to do anything, to go to the job, to go to the grocery store, to go meet a hot date, a hot banging rock star, playboy phantom girl or whatever, like one of the first steps is like you have to like listen so you could attempt to process it and understand. So if I try to say like give me a chance to speak, it depends on the dynamical settings that I'm in, right? And some dynamical settings that there are, it won't give you the chance to speak just for whatever reason, right? Just so that that could be also in a different context, right? Like it could be in just like the classroom setting, or it could be in the society setting. And if you take it a step further, if you're not given the chance to speak, even though you should be given the chance to speak, like when there's a classroom setting and the teacher says any questions, right? Then that's allowing you to give you a chance to speak. But for some reason, there might be a different integer, original open source, where like someone's just interrupting you for some reason. And if someone's interrupting you for some reason, it's up to like the teacher to see why they're stalling that or why they're not stalling it, and if they're not stalling it, then, energetic justice is in the process, right? Energetic justice meaning, what the hell are you doing? Let's do something about what the hell are you doing, right? Let's do something about, you're out of your mind. These are like, there's lies on lies on lies on lies. Narcissists are petty. That's their whole game. They've toppled themselves, lies on lies on lies, where their character themselves, where everything is a lie. And they don't expect you to know that, because there's some type of like accumulation of arrogance, where they've lied to themselves so much that they've convinced themselves that their lie is a reality. Like the lies are the realities themselves. So the title of this video is Narcissists Are Petty. Obviously, there's a lot of time in the future, perhaps, give or take, because there are times when things could constrict you for better or for worse, or there are times that you will get a release for better or for worse, right? Because you can't just release on just like, you can't just take a shit on someone, right? But some people will try to do that, right? They literally will try to do that, and I just did 2 underground songs, and they were rough and raw, and like within that there was a little bit more quote unquote wisdom, just saying like, end quote. There was just saying like, I like, people like they will treat you like nothing, right? And they will look at you at nothing, because they're totally ignorant to your worth and value. And if they're totally ignorant to your worth and value, then that's susceptible for you to doubt yourself, when that doubt that is being cast on you, it's not even your doubt. It's just someone else's stuff that they're trying to control you, because, you know, we misunderstand, like, you know, the satanic agendas. But obviously, like, for the higher beings and the higher council, for that to be put there, there's also a double reason why there could be a balanced reason for that, you know? We're going through that challenge subjectively, right? We're going through that challenge subjectively of that satanic agenda. And it's beyond all of these events, that all of these copycat events, it's beyond all that. We're going through the challenge beyond just temporary, woo, yeah, we got this. Let's get this and use this as a high. I'm not downplaying that. I'm just saying it's not what you do, it's how you do it. You know? So, and this is rough and raw. So the title of this video is Narcissists Are Petty, and they don't realize that they're petty. And that collective narcissism, it's a program that's quote unquote encouraging and provoking toxic narcissism out of pocket to be enhanced in the collective itself, when it doesn't have to be like that. Like, I get the whole fucking shadow shit. Like I get the whole, like, some people are just narcs genetically and they can't help it. But some people could be narcs by just behavior being passed down, right? And that intelligence on intelligence on intelligence, it's all passed and circulated through the whole fucking globe. And people don't really have the intelligence and capacity to realize that we're susceptible to other people's non-intelligence. We're susceptible to other people's ignorance. We're susceptible to other people's just genetic stuff, for however it passes and however we can redefine it, right? NHD stuff, negotropic HD. So within all of that being said, I'm at 9 years underground, not just of the musical shit, but just of the quality, like, podcast shit and even writing. So with that being said, it's just a casual reminder to whoever could be in a balanced relationship with me, to just recognize, like, the intention, right? And if the intention isn't recognized, then I have to wait within the collective society of that collective society having an adaptive program of just, like, you know, the satanic programs being one of a collection of other programs. But for some reason, the satanic program, they're emphasized, right? They're emphasized in the 3D because that was the old guard, right? So if there was an old guard, and standardly neutrally, now there's a change of guard, and for some reason the world doesn't necessarily have the intelligence to catch up to that, then we're playing catch up intellectually. We're barely getting up on our homework, right? Like, the homework has barely been done, right? After all of this time, like, after all of the timing and studying, like, the homework has barely been done to, like, release some quality shit, and to, like, for you to, like, actually do what you could do beyond the contract, and how the contract weighs you down and tells you what to do and what not to do. And now you get to, like, do what you get to do after the homework you got to do, and now you could release some quality shit. Shout out Eminem. But let me just read some shit right here. So, God recognizes evil. So, like, the theme of this day for me intuitively is just playing catch up, right? And it's not good, it's not bad per se, but it could be, like, energetically in the surface level karmic physical world, it can be disastrous, though, you know? And the intelligence, the real emergency preservation factor team, prevents the disastrousness, you know? The pure spirituality is the foundation, right? So I have to, like, clarify the shit that I write, because I be writing little blogs and shit, right? So if I be writing these little shit blogs, what the fuck do these little shit blogs mean? They mean a lot. It's not just looking at the two-dimensional post. It's you launching your own investigation, processing that investigation, seeing how the family dynamic is a reflection of society, and society is a reflection of the old guard, and the old guard is reflecting through your family, and the family is being, quote unquote, metaphorically poisoned, end quote, by the old guard, because the old guard, that's their programs for how the family should run and persecute, you know, based on just the toxic family setting, neutrally saying that. And so, and the old justice system simultaneously oblivious to just like a higher order new system, and they're just numb and neglecting that, but still that system will do its thing. They're simultaneously both here, but for some reason there's just this denial factor, right? And that denial factor, it's not going to do you justice in the real spiritual balance long-term marathon. We're just lying to ourselves. We have to stop lying to ourselves for real. So I'm like, I've developed a unique patience, because for some reason, like, God is like secretly saving some shit, you know? And as God secretly saves this shit, the physical reality is reflecting that shit, and the physical reality plummeted out of that and went into a shadow period where it lessened that pure order and forgot that pure order. But that doesn't negate the fact that that pure order is still here, you know? It's still here. Like, it's still doing this regardless of anybody's spiritual activation and their contracts. We're still going through the ups and downs of all of these things, and we're still, for whatever reason, could be changing our intention or staying true to our intention. And if you change your intention, then the programs are just doing their thing with your subjective spiritual development. Because someone could start off in the path just being like overly good, then turn evil, or evil, then turn good, but both of those are negating the real original balance, which is just baffling, you know? And I'm at 9 years underground, not with just the lyrical musics, not just with the blogs, but particularly the long form podcast, right? So I developed a unique patience, because I did my homework. I did my homework in a whole different way, right? And now that I've done my homework in a different way, and the time it goes up and down where you could reveal shit and you could keep shit to yourself, we have to ask, like, when is it my turn to talk, right? Quote unquote, end quote. Like, am I allowed to say anything? And if I'm not allowed to say anything, it's because the old system and the old guard wants to do it in a distorted, controlled way, you know? It's like, you're not like we're only lying to ourselves for real, though, you know? So it's like, am I allowed to say anything? It depends on the time, right? So am I allowed to say anything? It depends on the time. Then yes, I am allowed to say something, because a new time is giving me that pocket of space for me to say something. And, you know, different audiences will peep game based on what agendas they have, right? And if it's their agenda just to like ignore it, then that's their shit. That's their game. That's their lingo, right? So it's like, am I allowed? So this is quote unquote America, right? End quote. USA, quote unquote, end quote, whatever. And I say quotes because obviously we all have different subjective perceptions about it, and we're all going through it differently, right? So it's not even that it's quote unquote US, end quote. It's that there is pockets of free speech, right? So since there's pockets of free speech, we have to talk to the old system that's transitioning to a new system, and we have to say, within the little free speech that we have, is it my turn to speak, quote unquote, metaphorically? And what do I mean by that? Like, is the old system, are you done with you reciting your old narrative, and are you really about the solutions? And to some small degree and percentage, you are about the solutions. You made that metaphorical phone call. You want the solutions. Now the solutions are here. It's the solution's turn to speak. Do you get that? It's the solution's turn to speak. So Subconsciously you asked for it, you know. Subconsciously you asked for, what are your thoughts, you know? Okay, here it is. Are you in the space to listen to that? This is 9 years of this quality though. And even before 9 years, it was like 14, because I've been writing offline for 14 years ago. And this is just for my own account, for like the real balanced, sophisticated logistic account, to really fucking comprehend and actually detail the correct account. So if you're not detailing the correct account, then what's the point of you having your job if you're not going to do your job, right? So I've been like writing for 14 years based on the energy of a unique particular type of suppression within the fading conclusive period of time of the old guard, because we're in a threshold transition time. The time that we're in is the old guard is concluding. And within the old guard concluding, how we're going about things behind the AI and beyond the AI, it's not necessarily going to work, because it's in an incompatible way for how the people are working with nature. So the old guard, the old programs, they're not working. They're not working in a particular way. So if the old guard isn't working, then what is the fuss really all about? It's about the quote unquote, the spiritual changes that are taking place on a quote unquote energetic metaphysical level, end quote, meaning the space that we're moving to, that we were in, the higher selves were in, they're facilitating a change of a particular type of movement. And within that movement, there's no choice but for the systems to change completely based on its foundation not being compatible for where it's going. So I'm going to read this little mini shit blog. And the point of this video is like, when is it my turn to speak, right? Is the society giving you your turn to speak? So what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? So is the society giving you your turn to speak? Well, it depends. Have you done your homework? Have you processed the shit for you to find an opening where the old detrimental society just has a quote unquote hole in it, right? A hole within its logic for you to fucking put your purpose in, patch up that hole in the society of flawed logic and intention, and your purpose from how you could muster it up. Now you could put like your purpose into the flawed logic of the system. So can we put our purpose into the flawed logic of the system? Maybe. It's a up and down process. It's like, yeah, sometimes I'm like, I've been like, I get like, they let me go in my jobs like unfairly with like, just like, it seems like it's a discriminative reason, right? Like I was working at like Target, like, and I was just doing seasonally, just doing my job, being like supplying the best customer service they've never really experienced, and that influenced low-key worldwide change. And then next thing you know, it was just like, you know, no reason, you're gone, you know. But anyways, I'm gonna read this mini blog, then I'm gonna go on with my day. So this mini blog, I'm just gonna read it because so I could kind of like just remind myself that there's other work to be done, right? There's other work to be done. Like, what do I mean by that? There's other work to be done. For people to pretend to play the confusion card, there is no confusion. The evidence is there. You got to know where to look. You got to know where to like find it, right? So in the bigger picture of it, beyond the justice system, beyond the tech world, there is no confusion. How? Because somewhere within the hyper advanced intelligence and its original processing systems, it knows that the evidence and the questions that you're asking or the questions that you're confused on, that you're asking for you to ask for the particular type of evidence that you need and want for something to be made clear to you, it's there somewhere. That's the point. It's just that for whatever reason, people are disarrayed to pretend it's not there, and they're making it harder than what it is for whatever reason. And they're not doing their job efficiently. And since you're not doing your job efficiently, you're just being an outdated thing in the quote unquote in the bigger picture. So I'm gonna read this. So the point in that last sentence was like, people aren't necessarily doing their jobs correctly. So it's like the quote unquote gods, end quote, end quote. We're giving them a reason for quote unquote AI to take over human jobs, end quote. Like rhetorically saying that though, like not literally saying that though. I'm not literally, but we could be giving them a reason because we're not necessarily doing the job, right? So if we're not necessarily doing the job, then you don't think we're not being watched? You know, the surveillance is just a reflection of we were always being watched. It's just that the godheads are evolving beyond, you know, beyond just like the masses versus the masses, right? But like if that shit wants to play out how it wants to play out, no judgment. They have their reasons. But the cause of all of this shit is based on, and we could classify them whatever we want. You know, we could classify the quote unquote, you know, the higher original beings however we want, but that doesn't make it true. You know, like we see it all. We gather all the info. We're on the internet and we're seeing all of these catchphrases, right? We're seeing all of these catchphrases on the internet, like, oh, this could be possible, this could be possible. But like one example was like, have more power than God. Like, is that the truth, you know? First of all, we're misunderstanding God. Second of all, that sounds like a farce. Third of all, you might get cheated during that process. And fourth of all, what will become of it when we find out the non-truth of it? And fifth of all, what is the kickback of that fake shit? Because within the catchphrase of like certain YouTube videos, you gain power beyond God. Like, whoa, dude, put some fucking disclaimers on there. But anyways, this is just an intuitive thing right here. God recognizes evil. The ignorance evil in the spiritual community could have been placed there for a purpose, as an experiment, to see who goes out of balance on a deep level and who are the small 1%ers that go in balance. Only time will tell. Quote unquote spiritual people, end quote, are numb to the ignorance evil in 3D. There are overly toxic manipulator narcs on the chessboard of third dimension reality who dress up as victim-like Cheshire cats that want to rape your balance dry, as if that's the lesson of God. Could we have discernment to see how we could just like protect ourselves from that? Because if we don't protect ourselves from that shit, then it's like we're subject to go on the highway, on the high road to heck. So that's the lesson. Can we stand up to this raping like evil who dresses themselves up as little Bo Peep, who want to hide the real truth of things and hold on to the last minute and give you crumbs because how they feel internally, how life has treated them internally over the years, that's how they treat other people. How they feel, how someone treats another person, that's how they feel inside. That's how society has given them their karmic path on a bigger picture level. Because this microcosm 3D reality, it's a micro reflection of a whole different dimension that we totally forgot. So their last card is to play victim and lie to themselves and everyone around them. while being retarded at trying to clean all the messes they made. Metaphysically saying that, not saying it in the surface level, superficial way, because that could be like, because we can't have our families voting for that condition. And if they are voting for that condition, then they're neglecting higher, deeper truths, and that's your fault. So their last card is to play victim and lie to themselves and everyone around them. The title of this video is Narcissists Are Really Just Petty at First. And they hypnotize themselves that they are innocent. They hypnotize themselves that they are the innocent ones. And who knows how deep their hypnosis has gone within their own hypnosis they put on themselves. Like, oh, I'm quote unquote innocent, but the psychosis, the deeper psychosis knows that's not the whole truth. It's just one facade. And how someone thinks. So okay. Some people have no idea the world doesn't think like they do, but some people will assume how they think the world thinks the same way, because that's childish spiritual maturity and childish intelligence. Like, no one fucking thinks the same fucking way that you fucking do, and no one cares, and no one's gonna validate that petty shit. How you think the petty shit's gonna get validated. Your petty shit's not gonna get validated. How you think it is, and how you earn validation out of just being sketch. Ironically, the sketch roundtable, they don't give a fuck about that shit. Like, no one gives a fuck about your petty validation and your incorrect way of thinking. As the old justice system just watches and does nothing. Deep psychosis in the old justice system. The world would be fucked without my pure intelligence and intention. But that's 3D. And then I look forward to see the authentic ascension within, within the because all of it is just the programs, right? So within all of the programs, you play your fucking role, right? You live out your contract, right? So I just look forward to this shit. Like, I'm staying true to the original principle, like, of me really not giving a fuck. So that concludes the video. I'm at 28 minutes, but it doesn't really matter about the timing. I'm just saying, where is the original balanced quote unquote CIA end quote to account the real quote unquote solutions end quote, or the real benchmarks of breakthroughs quote unquote end quote, the real propositions, right? Because if someone quote unquote tries to sue me end quote, but they don't see that a different working has been undertaken for me to provide the solution to make a foundation for that to even be stand on, or me to make a different solution for them to even keep moving based on a solution I did, or just all of the solutions I've ever done, and them not seeing a different reason why something is, then that's imbalanced, quote unquote, central intelligence agency, end quote. Because all of the intelligence is there. It's all there. That's the point of this. That's the point of all of this shit. Like, there's no reason to have an empty conversation. There's no reason to there's just no reason to at some point, there's going to be no reason to talk about irrelevant conversations and irrelevant discussions. What does that mean? We could know the answer more faster and accessibly. So why the fuck are we wasting time on stupid, irrelevant, retarded conversations that are just riddled with lies? That doesn't make sense. So since that doesn't make sense, that's how we're quote unquote metaphorically end quote disgracing the artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is supposed to bring 6%. artificial intelligence is supposed to bring things more faster and accessibly, right? But if it's not doing that, then what's the point of it? So it's like some conversations are irrelevant because they're riddled with lies and they're trying to be manipulated to go towards someone's agenda that's not for the service of all. It's the service for just one, and it's self-destructive. So some of the conversations are irrelevant because things will go over your fucking head. You're not in a state of listening or understanding or realization, because this is 9 to 14 years of this, like of this quote unquote woe, end quote. So it's, and I'm not even competing with anybody. I'm not even trying to be in competition. I'm just in my own fucking lane. But some conversations in the future, we have to have the intelligence to see how they're irrelevant. How are they irrelevant? How are they irrelevant? That is old shit. There's an answer to that shit. That is old shit. We're binded by this circumstance through karmics, through the karmic energies, and on the frequency level. The trauma got the best of your frequency, right? And now you have to kind of pick yourself back up out of the trauma that has been done to you and work with the quote unquote higher self in the dream time. And that will give you a surcharge, a recharge of how you could just make the genuine metaphysical case and account of you, right? So some conversations in the future that will be irrelevant, or if they're not right now, because we're talking about petty shit, and the answer, we know the fucking answer. We're just trying to toxically, distortedly manipulate things for things to go in our favor, particularly with the old justice system. But the new intelligence, we must understand that there is a change of guard, and the change of guard is particularly transforming the old systems and industries. So that's the difference between the original galactic artificial intelligence, international intelligence, and your artificial intelligence. It's a universal authenticity. It's a universal genuineness for real. That's energetically, literally above all of your guys' AIs, respectively and neutrally, because I'm all in like that. Because God's by my side, and God is the biggest balance. And yeah, laugh now, cry later type of shit. You have the best life ever.